Reframing Mindset podcast, where I clear my head of the thoughts that are preventing clarity, practice my speech, among other things. Episodes range from informative knowledge to funny stories about my experiences, and in the future, maybe include interviews. So subscribe and enjoy. Episodes drop every other day. Okay, welcome back to Reframe Mindset podcast on its concept books. And in this episode, I talk about I guess the last, one of the last few, one of the, I guess, important episode I guess I could actually record on the credit card. That, and what happens is that when you actually get it or stuff like that, this is based on my opinion. You actually, the things like coins and cash is actually become like a day and day basis. No, it'll be like, oh, to use the credit card, you actually get more value than actually using cash or debit or stuff like that. That's what happens when you actually get those stuff. So now it's like a day by day struggle. Say, oh, do I use cash and all these stuff? Some place don't use cards or stuff like that, and it's like, oh, what the day by day struggle to say, oh, what is the best format of money I should use or stuff. And I guess based on my experience, what you're going to realize is that when you're starting from zero and stuff like that, what you're going to realize is that when you upgrade, you can actually manage where you go. And as you upgrade in life, you can there's be struggles and stuff like that when we talk about the life you can't do for now, maybe like place with cash and all these stuff. But as you grow, you can manage where you go. Where, like, for example, as you get high and more stable, say for example, you get your own car and all these stuff and everything, and you get all your finances start out. You can manage your thing to say, okay, I'm gonna go only car places and go only cash or only cash places and stuff like that. You can actually manage those those realities and say, oh, we can actually only go those places. But what happens that when you actually work before the days and you didn't have these stuff, you were using cash, coins, and all those stuff. What happens now when you actually have them now, and if you actually go to stores and all these things like me, you actually realize that coins are one of the most funny things to actually use at stores because some prefer certain coins, but like for example, the extremely small coins where I'm from is really hard to actually get to use at certain places. So, what one of the things that I always thought about, and this actually really depends on the, the cashier or whoever you're just working with. What happens that these stuff is actually takes long to actually do and stuff like. But for example, boom, go to certain places and what happens that I I think the higher you go, the more they actually value the dollar and stuff like that. So it's like you go and say, oh, things cost that and couple cents, and it's like, oh, yo, those cents actually matter. And I think somewhere higher you go. So what will happen is that sometimes you go to certain places and then boom, you're just getting a lot of dollars. And then what happens is that if you actually get some dollars are and that's where I'm from. That's the currency that I'm from. Then you have coin, penny, and all these stuff. And what happens is that sometimes those things value more where they're from. But where I'm from, the dollar is really a very low quality currency, current part of money. So what will happen is that I would actually have get all these dollars and all these stuff. And what will happen is that you actually um and it's hard to actually use those dollars elsewhere than the place that you actually got them. And know that you're just getting C card, the credit card and all these stuff. You actually have to manage be like, oh yo, boom, I have all these dollars now. So what I would try to do is like, maybe just manage things where whom I usually use like reward cards and stuff at those stores, and then boom, like for example, they have some extra dollars. The cost come with extra dollars. I try to use those extra dollars that I have to um to just get the dollars them out of the way, just bring it back where they came where they came from, because that's actually the best use of it. And what happens is that over the time you use the cash, you're out there using the coins and stuff like that, and get to more using the credit card. What happens is that you can actually start to go to more businesses that use the credit card less of the cash space. And what will happen is that if you in your credit card experience, if you're always having issues with getting all these coins but don't know how to use it, the more you go, the more you can say, okay, I'm gonna go to only card places and all these stuff. So you never have to deal with cash and all these stuff. You only go to these places. What happens that the lessons is important from the cash and coin days. This if you're is coming from nothing and all these stuff, the coins and everything better than nothing. So that's the reason why sometimes be like, oh yeah, the lessons from the bottom is actually really important to say, yo, when you actually leave it, there's maybe someone there that is actually out there so at the bottom. So you have to be like, oh yo, these lessons are there. But this is the experience that I have. Or what will happen is that maybe this idea that I have is actually very null and void, and and then I have to do something else. But these I think will be like, oh, these ideas are valid, and sometimes you have to just start them out, try them out, and what will happen is that with some ideas to try them in real life is it can't be out there so trying and be like, oh yeah, with so many people and all this stuff. It's actually be more aware. Like for example, you're out there so talk about business cycle and all this stuff. They will go to the grocery store and have 10 million people out there, and you have like coins and like, oh my god, let me count coins and all this stuff. Those things hold up the line. Those things hold up the line. So it's like you can't just be out there so running up like that. You have to actually take your time and actually um and slowly use these lessons sparingly, cause you don't cause you know also doing this stuff you always let up people time. And it's like cool. But this is something I'd be like, oh, when you unlock the credit card and stuff like that, you're going to actually realize that it's more beneficial to actually use that card with the wires and stuff than to use normal debit and all these things. But you can just slowly fade away from the debit or the cash or coin and all these stuff. It's just gonna be like, oh, slowly moving away. Tend to want to do that more because you're always getting the rewards. And then over time you just find ways to get rid of the cash, and what happens is that your level of actually managing that it equates to your level of independence in the sense that if, for example, if you're still taking, for example, taxi and all these stuff while having a C card, credit card and all these stuff, you can't control the fact if they ask for cash and all, and cash or cash. So if that was your reality where you're from, you still have to actually go and use cash and all these stuff. But at the same time, knowing that boom, oh, when you actually work and get there, and even boom, for example, you're out there, so boom, and you work and get your car out to drive. Maybe some of the gas stations still don't take card, still don't take card, they still take cash and all this stuff. So even the level you go, what you can actually do is you can actually manage to say, okay, yeah, I can maybe actually get rid of all of the coins, but we can't get rid of all of the cash as yet because you never know. We can't manage that expectation as yet to say oh, we don't go. So what happens is that yo, it's a reach a level and you say, okay, yeah, on, we go earn it only these places because the wars of using that card is actually beneficial more than the other places. But at the same time, living the reality to say, um, you can um, not everybody is out there so taking things like that. So so what happens like this the reason why I guess this episode is actually at the right point is because if you actually reach this episode, for like, what I say is that it's not the fact that you actually come out and have like a lot of money all of a sudden. But you're supposed to have some money management to know when to pay back things, when to how to actually pay back things. And then not only that, the struggle was in the first year for in the car is actually a struggle out there. So coming and stretching the payback every month and stuff like that. But what happens is that when you actually go back and get the rewards, you have the compound income now. I've seen you're going to start do something in the second year. Where, for example, you can't, for example, you always have a simple limit, a credit limit, and it's like, oh, yo, you're gonna be like, I'm using double that limit per month. So instead of me out there, so being like, oh my god, I'm budgeting to spend the credit limit per month, you'll be like, oh my god, I can spend this today, then come back next week and spend pay off that and then spend that next week. Because happens that your salary is actually more than your salary is actually more than the limit. They can actually spend over, but you have to actually pay it off. You have to actually pay it off and then rewards and stuff like that. And then what happens that will actually compound again. That will actually compound again in the sense that then all of a sudden you'll be able to actually just spend those credit limits per day and not spend those credit limits and stuff per day. And it's like, yo, it just keep on doing that and it's the same principle and then what happens that because you already spend that credit per day be like, oh yo, it come like it's time to actually upgrade. Because that's the thing where be like, yo, everything about expiration date. If you actually always be able to spend more than your credit limit and stuff per day, it's like, yo, you be say, yo, it's okay, it's come like it's actually time to actually increase your limit and stuff like that. You would have actually passed the worst phase of saying that, oh, you struggle to actually pay that small amount. And I guess that's the thing we reach where I start with a small amount, to say, okay, this is what you can manage. Let's see if you can manage this. And then what happens is that when you actually can manage this now, it's like, okay, yo, it's time to increase it a little more. And then what happens that they increase a little more. And then because what? If you understand the principle more quickly, what will happen is that you just run through that like, upgrade real quick. So they'll be like, yo, maxing out that and just paying it off real quick. And it's like, and just pay. Not maxing it out, you actually use the card effectively and paying it off real quick and all this stuff. And all these things real quick. And it's like, yo, those will just be a simple back of your mind stuff. And it's like, cool. Then boom, the upgrade, and then boom, you upgrade so much that you don't your income will never reach that limit. And it's like, yeah, because what happens that your money, those fundamental money management lessons has has come back and you partner with those stuff, paying off and all these stuff. Like, yo, your management skills is so high that you actually come in and start paying off those stuff real, real quick. And it's like, boom, then you never reach the point. Then these struggles, these small struggles that you hear, oh my God, struggle to get this and that, will just be distant memories, and like, but what happens is that because these stuff are recorded, will be distant memories. If we actually reach there, it's important to actually tell these lessons because what happens is that we actually leave these spaces, it won't make sense for us to be always telling it like, oh, yo, using coin and stuff like that because of that. By the time the reality comes, like, yo, no coins exist and all these stuff like, yo, we don't have no coins and stuff like that. These are stuff that be like, oh, we unlock richness and stuff like that. We be like, yo, for everything you see of people living the reality, be like, oh my God, getting the coins. Not caring about coins and all these stuff. And it's like, yo, what happens that these are the fundamental days we actually care about these stuff. Because what happens that when you actually move on, it's not the fact that you don't care about them, it's that, oh, no, it's actually more beneficial for you to not keep them than to keep them. And if you get them, it'll be like, oh, you can actually manage them effectively and stuff like that. But these and this is the thing about the podcast, it'll be like, yeah. Everything is ideas until and then what happens that maybe you actually have to tweak the ideas after a while. Be like, oh yeah, you have to actually be like, oh yeah, this is actually different and stuff. So these are what I actually this is what this is what I was saying. No, point a lot like oh, coming able to manage your money and stuff like that, then your money will actually relate to your income. You'll be like, oh yeah, your income is this, minus this, and then when you can simply pay it off, then you can actually come in and be like, oh, no, they be like, oh yeah, increase limit and stuff like that. Boom, and because you actually reach that stage and you just master the fundamentals, you just be like, oh yeah, simple one too, and it's like, oh, it just become back of your head and it just be like, oh, the person that actually was watching way before and be like, ah, cool. Now you become that really easy. And it's like, ah. I know it's casual. No, it's casual to be saying that, and it's like, oh, but what happens that those were the what happens that the differences I'm telling you. These are the fundamental lessons, are the struggles you see me on the rise. You see on the rise of me getting these stuff, and then what will maybe see is that you see me living that luxury, that simple life, effortless, and it's like what happens like oh, these are actual struggles that I was actually facing in my time coming up, and it's like if I neglect those, what will happen? What will happen is that every future person coming up now is just coming up and have the same end as me. Be like, oh, the struggle to get this and all this stuff. What happens that maybe in these lessons, people find a better way to say, oh, we can skip this part, we can skip this part, and stuff like that. Or maybe what happens that maybe they skip the part and they go down the wrong road. The episode is there to say, yeah, this was where I'm at. You can always come back here and be like, yo, come back and be like, oh yeah, this is where it's supposed to be. It's like, but these are the thing about the episode is like, oh, these are the fundamental stuff to say, okay, when I see you also living the luxury, the yeah, rich man. It's like, what is that? Yo, we actually used to have these stuff, and it's like, oh, but over time, we actually work towards getting it. And then all of a sudden, here we saying that we're not using these stuff, and it's like, oh, yo. But it'll be like, oh, we actually was living this struggle life. What happens that, because every time you always see people coming, oh, yeah, stuff like that. It's good to have these episodes to say, yeah, we used to have this struggle life, so it's good to know that, yo, um, you can just it's hard to actually reach that level, but yo, it's not impossible. It's not impossible. Let's put it. And once you reach a level, you'll be like, oh, there's actually a new level and stuff like that, man. So, mhm. So that's basically it for this episode. Thank you for listening, and look forward for the next episode.
Well, this is the end of the episode. Thanks for watching and look forward for the next episode. To support this podcast, go to anchor.fm/cssb/support or become a sponsor for this episode. If you have a product that you want to have more exposure, DM me on the Instagram page Reframing Mindset Podcast or on Twitter at ReframingP. Either way would help. Thank you regardless for listening, and here's a preview for the next episode.